4 channels of communication. What your child actually hears. This material is based on modern research in developmental neurobiology. The concepts of serve and return, emotional attunement, and early brain development are widely represented in the works of the Harvard Center on the Developing Child, Donald Winnicott, Edward Tronick, and other specialists. This text is an author's interpretation of scientific data for a Russian-speaking audience. Your baby doesn't speak yet. They can't tell you, "I'm scared, it's too loud, stay with me." But here is what most parents don't know. Your child registers your every action. Every single one. Even the ones you don't pay attention to are quietly shaping who they will become.
I'm not talking about the obvious things right now. I'm talking about completely ordinary, everyday moments that millions of loving, caring parents perform every day. Moments that actually hurt a child's feelings in ways they cannot express. And the consequences here are not just emotional. They are neurological, developmental, and in some cases, they stay with a person for life. Stay with me, because what I say next might change how you look at ordinary moments with your little one. And by the end, you will understand. This is not about guilt. It's about understanding. Because once you know what's happening, you can change it. And that changes everything. Let's start with something simple. Children are resilient, we're told. They'll get used to it. And in a sense, that's true. But here's the danger of that phrase. Children are resilient only when they have a stable emotional foundation. Without it, that resilience begins to crack very, very early. Imagine that a non-visible receiver is working between you and your child. It catches only 4 frequencies. And you don't need to broadcast on all of them at once. One clear signal a day is enough for them to understand, I am safe, I am seen, I am loved. Let's break down these 4 channels. Channel 1, the gaze that holds or lets go. For a child, your face is the primary source of information about whether the world is safe. It is their emotional mirror. And there is one experiment here that changes everything. It's called still face. Researchers asked mothers to first interact with the baby as usual, and then, suddenly, adopt a completely neutral, unresponsive expression. Within seconds, the babies began to show signs of distress. They tried to get the mother back. They smiled, reached out, made sounds. And when nothing worked, they turned away, shut down, and some began to cry. Here is what's important to understand. When you are absorbed in your phone, when you hang in your thoughts, when your face becomes blank and unresponsive, for the child, it triggers a mini version of this experiment. Their nervous system reads, the mirror is gone. Safety is in question. This doesn't mean you have to be on 24/7. That's impossible. But if you notice that you've checked out, one soft return of the gaze, one smile, one "I'm here" is enough for the signal to be restored. And one more nuance of this channel. Eye contact is not about staring into eyes without blinking. It's about the quality of presence. When you are feeding, changing, or just holding them, try to set everything else aside for a few seconds. Catch their gaze. Smile softly. Not to do it right, but so they feel, I am seen. I exist for you. This micro moment is love made visible. Channel 2, the voice that calms or alarms. A child doesn't understand words, but from birth, they are an expert in intonation, in rhythm, in timbre, in that invisible vibration we call emotional prosody. They heard your voice even before birth, and now
That voice is not just a sound to them, it's a navigator. If the voice is calm, soft, and rhythmic, the child's brain receives a signal. Everything is fine. You can relax. If there is tension, hurry, or hidden anxiety in the voice, even if you say the tenderest words, their nervous system reads, something is wrong. The person I depend on is not okay. That means I can't relax either.
Research shows, even at 6 months old, infants demonstrate measurable stress reactions, increased heart rate, elevated cortisol when they hear tense adult conversations, even in their sleep. Their body reacts, even though their consciousness is not yet engaged. What can you do about this? You don't need to play happy when there's a storm inside, but you can do one simple thing. Before picking up the child, take one slow, conscious breath. Not for them, for yourself, to slightly shift your own rhythm, so the voice they hear carries a little more peace. And another important part of this channel is narrating the world, not for language development, not for an early start, but for something simpler, so the child feels what I am looking at, what I am feeling, is noticed. My curiosity matters. When they reach for a light and you say, "Oh, you noticed the lamp," you aren't just commenting. You are building a neural connection. You are responding to their serve. Researchers call this serve and return. And according to the Harvard Center on the Developing Child, this is one of the most important building blocks for the brain in the early years. Not toys, not classes, but these small, living moments of shared attention.
Channel 3. The touch that says, you are safe. Skin is the largest sensory organ. And for an infant, touch is not just comfort. It is a biological necessity. When a child is held, oxytocin, the connection hormone, is released in the bodies of both the baby and the adult. The heart rate stabilizes. Cortisol levels drop. The vagus nerve, the main conductor of the parasympathetic system, responsible for peace and recovery, is activated. But there is an important nuance that is rarely discussed. Newborns come into the world with a very sensitive nervous system. They have a strong startle reflex, and any sudden touch, even a gentle one, can momentarily trigger a stress response. So try narrating your hands. Before picking them up, changing them, or stroking them, say quietly and calmly, "I'm going to pick you up now. Let's change your diaper. I'm right here." When the voice comes a split second before the touch, the child's brain has time to prepare. It reads this as safety, as intentionality.
And another aspect of this channel is physical availability. It's not just about picking them up when the child cries. It's about those micro moments throughout the day. A hand on their back while they play, a light touch on the cheek as you walk by, the warmth of your body when they are simply near. These small, almost imperceptible touches continuously send the signal, you are safe, you are not alone. Children who receive little tactile contact, even in loving families where they are fed, developed, and cared for, show higher baseline cortisol levels. Their nervous system works in a mode of slight but constant tension, not because they are in danger, but because one of the main signals of safety, touch, is intermittent. Channel 4, Emotional Rhythm. I feel you. This channel is the subtlest and the most important because it unites everything. How you respond to crying, how you react to emotions, how you help the child cope with overload. Let's start with the simple. A child cries. Your first instinctive reaction is to say, "It's okay, you're fine." It sounds warm. It sounds right. But here's the difficulty. An infant doesn't yet have the capacity for self-regulation. This function, which lives in the prefrontal cortex, doesn't mature until the mid-20s.
What does the child have instead? Co-regulation. They borrow your calm nervous system to calm their own. When you say it's okay, but don't let them experience the emotion, don't help with your body, breath, and presence, a disconnect occurs. Their emotional brain is activated, but there is no container for that emotion. And over time, if there are many such moments, the child learns, what I feel does not match what I am told. My feelings cannot be trusted. You don't need to fix their emotions. You need to see them, name them. You're upset. That hurts you. I'm here. This isn't magic. It's neurobiology.
And another important aspect of this channel is overload. We live in a world that equates stimulation with development. Bright toys, loud music, classes, sensory bins. And all of this comes from love, from a desire to give the best. But here is what most parents don't consider. A newborn's nervous system can process only a tiny fraction of the sensory flow that is normal for an adult. What is just background noise to you, TV, conversations, notifications, can be catastrophically overwhelming for a child. Signs of overload are almost always misread. The child cries, arches their back, becomes glassy-eyed, turns away, hiccups, sneezes. And the usual reaction is to try even more. Rock them, sing, entertain, which only intensifies the overload. What does an overloaded child need? Not more, but less. Dimmed lights, silence, calm. Your balanced nervous system nearby. Sometimes the most developmental thing you can give is to simply do nothing. To be quietly nearby. And the final, subtlest layer of this channel is your own emotional availability. Not physical presence, but internal presence. When you are here, but inside, you are in anxiety, in sadness, in detachment. Research shows children of parents experiencing depression, even if they perform all physical care functions, show higher stress levels, disrupted attachment patterns, and changes in the development of brain areas responsible for emotions. This is not to blame. It's to see. Your child reads not just your actions, they read your state. And the most powerful gift you can give them is working on your own nervous system, on your peace, on your ability to return to yourself. Because a parent who pauses to breathe, who asks for support, who practices even the smallest acts of self-regulation, that parent changes something in the space, and the child feels it. In conclusion, you are already doing this. And here we are at the end. And I want you to notice what you are feeling right now. If something familiar resonated inside, a bit of recognition, a bit of tenderness for those moments you now see differently, that is an important feeling. It is not guilt. It is attunement. The very thing that makes you a good parent. The fact that you are listening to this, that you want to understand, that you are asking yourself, am I missing something? Am I hurting them without knowing? That question, that willingness to look, is not a small thing. It is everything. Your child doesn't need a perfect parent. Research is actually very clear on this. Winnicott called it the good enough parent, the one who makes mistakes and restores the connection, who doesn't notice and then notices that they didn't notice, who doesn't always hit the mark, but constantly returns to see, to meet, to say, I'm here, I see you. It is the moments of restoration, not perfect connection, that form secure attachment. Not perfection, returning. So the next time your little one looks at you, really looks,
deeply, vulnerably, know this: they aren't just looking, they are reading, they are trusting, they are building themselves around you. And you are enough. Your child is lucky to have you. Please, don't forget that.